We've spent, the last few years just obsessing over how smart large language models are.
Right. But raw intelligence is, well, it's practically useless if you're trapped in a text box.
Exactly. So today's deep dive is all about giving AI the keys to your enterprise data and, I guess, more importantly, how to stop it from driving the car right off a cliff.
Yeah, we're looking at Lazo UK's Microsoft Agent Framework repository today, specifically Notebook 1.
Right, which explores how we actually transform an isolated model into an agent that interacts with the real world. So, okay, let's unpack this, because looking at this mathematically, an LLM is essentially just a sophisticated text predictor, right?
Right, and it can't natively just go and browse an API. For a long time, connecting an AI to a live database meant writing custom, incredibly brittle integration code for every single tool.
Oh, wow. So developers were basically hard-coding the translation layer between the model and their specific APIs.
Exactly. But this framework handles that heavy lifting through an open standard called MCP. I mean, the Model Context Protocol. You can instantiate a new tool just by passing a name, like Microsoft Learn MCP tool, and pointing it to a live endpoint URL.
Like the Microsoft Learn API itself.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's essentially a USB for AI. You just plug the endpoint in, and the agent instantly knows how to read it.
That is a great way to put it, yeah.
But wait, if connecting AI to live enterprise data is really as easy as plugging in a USB, doesn't that create like a terrifying
What?
security nightmare for developers?
Well, what's fascinating here is how the framework's governance mechanisms step in to handle the blast radius. They actually solve this massive security problem with a single parameter.
Really, just one parameter.
Yeah, it's called approval underscore mode equals never underscore require.
Never require, so it just entirely bypasses security.
Well, no, you only use that setting for harmless tasks. Things like reading public documentation.
Right.
Autonomous execution is perfectly fine there because you want it to fetch data rapidly.
Right. That makes sense.
But if you were attaching a tool meant for a destructive action, like, say, dropping a SQL table or initiating a bank transfer.
Oh, yeah, you definitely don't want that running autonomously.
Exactly. You'd change that setting to mandate human-in-the-loop approval.
Okay, so it's less like giving the AI the nuclear launch codes and more like giving it a corporate credit card with like a strict spending limit. It can buy office supplies on its own, but if it wants to buy a whole new server rack, finance has to step in and approve the transaction.
That's spot on. It keeps the architecture really lightweight while giving developers absolute control over what the agent can actually execute.
All right, so we have this safely connected agent. I think they name it Microsoft Documentation Agent in the notebook, right?
Yes, they do.
And they put it to the test with a prompt that asks for the difference between prompt and hosted agents in Foundry, which is a classic trap because Azure Foundry is so new.
Right. Normally, that causes model hallucination due to training data cutoffs. The framework is basically testing if the agent is smart enough to defer to the MCP tool rather than just, guessing.
Wait, how does it actually retrieve this? I mean, did the developer have to code a bunch of orchestration logic to handle the back and forth?
Actually, no. When the model hits that knowledge gap, it outputs a specific tool call token sequence instead of standard text, usually formatted as a JSON object.
So the model isn't pausing in a human sense, it's just actively generating a structured command format instead of conversational text.
Right. And the Microsoft Agent Framework's orchestration layer catches that JSON command. It halts the user-facing stream and executes the underlying Python script to hit the live API.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, then the framework takes a raw data return from the API and injects it right back into the model's context window as a brand new system message.
Okay, so then the AI processes that new context and resumes streaming the accurate answer in real time.
Exactly. Completely seamlessly behind the scenes. And in this case, it correctly explains that prompt agents are fully managed, while hosted agents are code-based containers you build yourself.
Without the developer writing all those orchestration loops. I mean, if you're listening to this and you build things, just think about what those 5 lines of code just replaced.
Yeah, it's massive. You completely bypass the static, frozen limitations of an LLM's training data.
Right, you build a live research assistant, and you do it without writing any of those messy API parsers.
And it sets the stage perfectly for Notebook 2, which dives into middleware. How to intercept these tool calls for logging and safety guardrails.
Which is where it gets really interesting to think about. Because if frameworks can seamlessly intercept AI tool usage for safety right now, what happens when these autonomous agents start communicating with and, creating tools for each other entirely outside of human view?
Yeah, that's a wild thought.
We're taking the AI out of the text box and giving it hands, and the very first thing it might do is start building a new world with its neighbors. Just something for you to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.